Welcome to our second installment of our Lenten series, Human Beings, Not Humans Doing. I'm Mary Erickson. I'm one of the priests here at St. John's. I'll be honest, I love a to-do list. I don't think naturally organized, and they keep me on track and accountable to myself. They help me organize my day, my week, my life. But when I'm driven by a to-do list, the motivation and sense of accomplishment becomes checking off the boxes. It feels good. And if you're anything like I am, you tackle the easiest stuff first for the satisfaction of crossing things off the list. It becomes almost addictive. But if we simply measure our lives by our productivity and our accomplishments, we can lose sight of what really matters. We all have to get stuff done, but we aren't the sum of our tasks. A to-do list might say, visit Susan, but that doesn't tell you anything about the value of that visit, the depth of connection or conversation you had. Some of my most meaningful days are when I am knocked off my to-do list entirely and something more critical comes up. And that more critical thing is usually a human being, often a vulnerable human being who needs me to show up for them. This theme of human beings rather than humans doing has really captured my curiosity over these past weeks. We are so focused as a culture on doing, and not just doing, but doing well, completing, accomplishing, succeeding, excelling. We define ourselves by what we do, both in our careers and in our time off. Just being somehow isn't enough. So I love the idea of a to-be list. Who do I want to be rather than what do I want to accomplish today? How do I want to show up in the world today, right now? And what stands in my way of simply being? What moves me into that frenetic to-do mode? I find that during times of stress, anxiety, uncertainty, risk, rather than allowing myself to be vulnerable, I simply get busier. I focus on checking off the list. Keeping busy is a proven way, not a very good way, but a proven way of avoiding the hard stuff, the hard truths, until it isn't. Last year was a hard year for me. One of my children was struggling with health issues. There's a saying, a truism, that a mom is only as happy as her least happy child. And it took its toll emotionally, financially, spiritually. And I didn't realize how big a bite it was taking because I can be so good at keeping busy, at doing. Just keep crossing things off that list. I think of Dory in Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. But I began fraying around the edges and I got busier. Less productive, more frenetic. It was harder to show up for the Susans in my life. And when I'm in that place, all of my worst traits bubble up to the top: insecurity, envy, hurt feelings, self-isolation. I'm coming out of a place of fear rather than courage, feigned toughness rather than vulnerability. And my fear and insecurity is that someone will see that I'm not as accomplished or capable or smart as I want them to think I am, that I am imperfect. And when I'm in that fearful place, I can't show up for my kids or my husband or for all of you. I can't be who I want to be on any given day. Simply saying, I can't do that right now, or I don't know how to do that, feels so risky. So instead of admitting weakness to myself or others, I make more to-do lists and just keep pushing on until it all blows up. This past year, a trusted friend took me aside and said that he was noticing. He saw me. He saw that I wasn't okay. And my biggest fear realized, right? You're going to see through the facade. I'm not doing okay, but you know what? It was such a huge relief. I don't have to fake it anymore. I'm not okay right now. And I was really only fooling myself. And I realized how important it is to recognize and admit to myself, to my family, to my friends and colleagues, I'm not okay. I need a little help here. True vulnerability is having the courage to show up, fully engage, and be seen when life feels out of control. times of uncertainty and stress and risk, emotional exposure, true vulnerability takes self-awareness and courage and a lot of trust. The beauty of a to-be list is rather than focus on all that I need to accomplish, I can focus on who I want to be in that present moment. And sometimes it might be just being okay with being okay. Today I want to admit that I'm in over my head. Today I want to be kind to myself and others. Today I simply want to be without judgment. But in order to know who I want to be, I need to be aware of who I am. It begins with acknowledging my true feelings, good, bad, neutral, hopeful, hopeless, which begins with being present for myself and honest with myself. A few months ago, I started a writing practice. This is the kind of thing that I would normally fail miserably at, setting too high a bar, which I would never reach. Every morning I'm going to get up and write for an hour. I'm going to produce 10 pages or some other ridiculous goal. And when I don't do that, don't cross it off the list, I beat myself up. So I began very small, a very small practice. I follow an indigenous poet out of Montana named Chris Latreille, and I took this idea from him. Every day I write one sentence, and it can be anything. It can be a long sentence, it can be a single word, something I'm feeling or noticing or wondering about. No expectation of greatness, just a sentence. I begin by stopping for a minute to notice myself, my surroundings, my fears, my joys. I take a little personal inventory so I can uncover that one sentence that wants to be written. And that little moment of awareness takes me to a different place. It grounds me, a moment of being, just being, and allowing the words to bubble up. And some sentences are quite beautiful, others are clunky or trite. It doesn't matter. Read all together over days and weeks, they tell a story. And it's a beautiful and clunky and trite and profound story. And it's my story. Normally, I write the sentence, quickly put the notebook away, and don't look at it again. Don't second guess it. But since we've been talking about these to-be lists, just in the last few weeks, I've added a little extra something, an extra process at the end of my writing. After the centering of self in the writing, I read the sentence, and I allow myself to sort of sink into the sentence, to be in relationship with it, and allow the to-be to bubble up from there. The sentence might be, the light, fluffy snow covers the cars and trees in front of my house, creating a buffer of silence and peace. And as I read that sentence, I might think to myself, today, I want to simply be at peace. Or the sentence might read, and I did actually write this one when my son was home at Christmas break, the clean kitchen I left last night is suddenly sullied by dirty dishes and junk on the countertop appearing seemingly out of nowhere. And I might think, today I'm going to be as loving to my child as I can be. Or the sentence might simply be, exhausted. And as I read that sentence, I might think, today I'm going to be gentle with myself. So that would be the exercise, the practice I would suggest, whatever form that takes for you. Either simply the sentence, which is powerful in and of its own. And if you want to, add a little something that is born from that sentence that gives you a little break or an attitude adjustment or a gentle reminder that allows you to simply be who you need to be in that moment. Just remember, if you don't do it and you don't check it off the list, don't beat yourself up.